When you give them permission to make things extra awesome, it's so fun to see what they think about. Like, oh, it doesn't have to be the everyday. It helps them to zoom out and think about how much they're in control of changing things. Are you tired of constantly telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way? Yet so many of us guilt trip or gaslight ourselves instead of working on our way through those complicated feelings. You should be a good friend, even though you feel hurt by past betrayals. You should be content, even though you feel lonely or unfulfilled. We've all been there, haven't we? But what if there was a way to reset these toxic mental tapes that sabotage our days? In her groundbreaking new book, I Shouldn't Feel This Way, Dr. Allison Cook encourages you to not just silence those thoughts, but actually come face to face with them. You can find emotional freedom. Learn to see through the haze of conflicted feelings and move forward in your life with confidence. Pairing biblically sound principles with over 20 years of research and clinical practice, licensed therapist and best-selling author, Dr. Allison Cook guides you through a practical 3-step process to find the freedom you crave. Change starts when you finally stop beating yourself up for the way you feel and say, you know what? I do feel this way, and I can finally do something about it. Take the first step towards clarity and peace today with I Shouldn't Feel This Way by Dr. Allison Cook. Available now wherever books are sold. Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be. Ready to bring more organization and joy into your life? The Encourager Academy helps you harmonize your home and work life through our online course and coaching programs. Our 5-system approach, me, food, family, work, and home, tackles your biggest obstacles, offering lifetime access to video lessons and guided worksheets. Learn at your own pace with practical tools and strategies. Enroll now at encourageracademy.com and use code WeGotThis for $50 off. Hello, Encouragers. On this week's podcast, I want to share with you something that I have been practicing monthly that has made a huge difference in my yearly goals when I reference them monthly. And these couple of resources will really set up each month to be very intentional for both your home life and your work life. And you know how I feel about you can totally combine both work and home life and have a ton of joy with both of them. I do not believe you have to do work life really well one week, but your home life fails, or vice versa. I think you can do both. Maybe not all at once, but I truly believe we can do both with joy. And this practice of this monthly folder is what I call it, has made a huge difference in making sure I get to do both with joy. So there's not any fancy name for it. So I'm just going to call it the monthly folder. And within this monthly folder, I reference it, big surprise, monthly. And when I open up this folder, I plan for the month ahead and set up both my family and my work life for total success. Yep, I'm going to claim it just like that. But it at least sets you up with a plan for the month, but it also helps you to reflect. So there are 5 different sheets of paper within my monthly folder. They are all resources you can get from my website, theencouragerpodcast.com. Look for the resources tab so you can download these in advance and put them in your monthly folder. So as you hear me reference them during the podcast here, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the first thing in my monthly folder is my honey huddle. I'm going to reverse this a little bit and tell you the real practical way that I do the monthly folder so that when I'm talking about what are the 5 resources in there, you know how you're going to implement them. So here's how you're going to implement the monthly folder. Okay, first of all, you're going to look at your calendar and you're going to mark a day in the last week that you're going to look at your monthly folder. So everybody's day is going to be different. Maybe yours Sunday's afternoon, maybe yours is Thursday evenings, maybe yours is the last Wednesday, whatever that looks like. I want you to write down in your planner or on your calendar or on your family calendar, I want you to write the words monthly folder. Okay. And highlight it if you want to go next level. Okay. Then you're going to create your monthly folder. Just get a folder out, title it monthly folder, and then put the resources in there. Pre-print them out. If you want to do 12, you're a rock star. If you just want to do for the next month, that's fine too. If you want to put a sticky note in there with what you need to print out for that month, you can do that also. But you will put the 5 resources in this folder. So every time that comes up on your calendar, you go, oh, I'm going to go get my monthly folder out. Store your monthly folder as close to your calendar as possible or where it'll be easily accessible, because if it's not and it's filed and it's buried somewhere, you're most likely not going to do it. So put it in a place where you're like, oh, yep, I'm going to reference it. And you know how fast months go. So put it in a place where you're like, yep, there's my monthly folder. I'm going to pull it out. Then you're going to do the sheets. And I'm going to talk about them in the podcast, but then you're actually going to complete the sheets that are in your monthly folder. And then I want you to mark how you're going to celebrate it. When you're being this intentional about both work and home life, I think you need a little celebrating. So after you fill out all these resources, maybe you have a root beer float. That's the favorite at my household. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you go out for ice cream. Whatever it looks like for you, mark that a month has been completed and that you've also planned for the month ahead. Okay, so that's how you're going to implement it. We all know that part. Now let's get to what the actual resources are within our monthly folder. In our monthly folder, the first one, and these aren't in order, so you can do it how you would like. The one that we start with is the Honey Huddle. Now, this is a free resource on the website. This is when Nick and I get together and we go over all the prompts that are within this resource. So that is your priorities, your calendars and your schedule, your expectations, self-care, budget, home improvements, dreams, and goals. I'm saying them a little fast because once you print this out, you will know what it is. And I have 2 or 3 podcasts, I believe, already on our Honey Huddle. So the Honey Huddle, you're going to print that off. It goes in your monthly folder and you're going to do it monthly with your spouse. Don't make me go on and on about how this will change things for you and your spouse about being intentional about one another and being intentional about your family and your work. It's a huge resource that is very valuable and it's simple. I also want to give you a little time frame. The Honey Huddle takes Nick and I about 30 to 35 minutes to complete. Now, when you're first starting it, it might take a little bit longer. If you super enjoy it, you might want to make it be really long. If you don't want to do all the prompts in there, nobody is looking. Cut out a couple of the prompts that don't make sense for you and do the few that are on there. I do recommend you have this Honey Huddle. If you just print it off and you do your own version, you go for it. But do some sort of meeting with your spouse monthly to get on the same board. Okay. Then the second resource is the house list. Now, this admittedly I got from Pinterest and it's the coolest thing. It's just a list of the things that you can do per month for your house. For example, my checklist is called the yearly home maintenance checklist because when we started owning a home, there's a few extra steps you have to do, right? So it'll say the month of January, it has all the months on there. The month of January, change the furnace filters. Test the carbon monoxide and the smoke detectors. Check for the ice dams and the icicles. Clean the range hood fan. Vacuum the refrigerator coils. Run water and flush toilets in unused spaces. Said no one ever. Right? So that one I just ignore because that's not the case for our house. Check the water softener and clean the garbage disposal. That's the things that you do for your yearly home maintenance in the month of January. So in my monthly folder, after we've had our Honey Huddle, we look at this yearly home maintenance checklist and go, okay, it's the month of June. We need to change the furnace filters, test the carbon monoxide, remove the lint from the dryer exhaust, maintain yard growth, power wash the windows and siding, clean garage. See what I'm saying? They have the coolest prompts in here. So we'll make sure to make this a resource as well on our podcast. But that's a really good way of taking care of our home, which would also qualify for our home system when we talk about that frequently on the podcast here. Okay, your third resource is your habit tracker. You guys, this has made such a huge difference in my small family, which is probably actually a large family for some. But even the kids participate, and it's so much fun. Now, some months are a little bit busier and more Xing than other months, but it's still a really good practice to do with your family. A habit tracker is a way that this is a resource on the podcast, okay? On the left-hand side, you can write down all of your goals or your habits you want to start forming. And then it has 31 little boxes. And then you or your children or your spouse get to mark down when they get an X when they're accomplishing their goals or their habits. This will look different for every member of the family. You may fill in all of the ones on the left of the column, and you may fill in 2 or 3. Like our 9-year-old Pixin only has about 5 on there, but they're important to her. She wants to do her spelling. She wants to read for 30 minutes. She wants to take her horse Nugget out, and she wants to be kind to her sisters, which is really fun. That was her idea to put it on there, and she puts an X on there when she thinks she has accomplished it. We fill out the habit trackers at nighttime after we brushed our teeth and we're getting ready for bed, because that is a natural pairing that we're doing the things at your little nighttime routine. We fill out our habit trackers. My husband has his pinned to the inside of our bathroom. We have wood plank walls, so that's where he puts his. Mine is in my closet so that as I'm getting ready for bed and get my PJs on, I've got it right there with a pencil. Do not create barriers when you're starting new habits and goals. Put the pen near the piece. Otherwise, you're like, I can't find the pen. Am I right? Yes. My son's looks different as well. He's probably the least likely to fill his out or to finish it, but each month we have him fill it out, even though he may not actually follow through on it. Some months he does. The habit tracker is the next resource you got to put on there. And for yourself personally, if you don't want your family to do it at first, you want to make sure you can do it and that you love and adore it. Great. Start it for yourself. Are you tired of constantly telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way? Yet so many of us guilt trip or gaslight ourselves instead of working on our way through those complicated feelings. You should be a good friend, even though you feel hurt by past betrayals. You should be content, even though you feel lonely or unfulfilled. We've all been there, haven't we? But what if there was a way to reset these toxic mental tapes that sabotage our days? In her groundbreaking new book, I Shouldn't Feel This Way, Dr. Allison Cook encourages you to not just silence those thoughts, but actually come face to face with them. You can find emotional freedom. Learn to see through the haze of conflicted feelings and move forward in your life with confidence. Pairing biblically sound principles with over 20 years of research and clinical practice, licensed therapist and best-selling author, Dr. Allison Cook guides you through a practical 3-step process to find the freedom you crave. Change starts when you finally stop beating yourself up for the way you feel and say, you know what? I do feel this way, and I can finally do something about it. Take the first step towards clarity and peace today with I Shouldn't Feel This Way by Dr. Allison Cook. Available now wherever books are sold. The 4th resource is your kids' interview. Now, this is something that you can print off and put in the monthly folder, but these are questions we ask our children and ourselves between Nick and I. And this was something that we got from Mel Robbins. We changed it up a little bit so it would fit our family, so feel free to do the same. But we ask these questions to our kids monthly, and they are, what could I plan today that will make the whole month easier or better? So we're looking ahead with the kiddos, okay? The second question on there is, what am I looking forward to? Then you get a little glimpse of like they really do love the new season or the new weather. Or they really are excited for track, or they're really excited for their lesson, or whatever it might be. So what am I looking forward to? The third question on there is, what will I try this month? This is a really good one, especially for the kiddos to like go, I have some options. What should I try? It might be a food. It might be an activity. It might be a new friendship. And the fourth question on there is, what's coming up and what do I need to do ahead of time to make things extra awesome? Guys, think about it. This has been so fun to ask the kiddos because when you give them permission to make things extra awesome, it's so fun to see what they think about. Like, it doesn't have to be the everyday. It helps them to zoom out and think about how much they're in control of changing things. I love asking these 4 questions, and it's so different between all the different personalities of our kiddos, but it's so fun because it also helps me as the mom meet some of their expectations or also manage some expectations. If I'm like, hey, kiddo, I don't think that's going to happen. That does sound extra awesome, but I don't know that that can happen in 1 month. So it kind of helps, regulate a little bit of those exciting things that they're trying to set up, but also keep it realistic and keep it fun. Like, okay, if that's what we're doing, then maybe we need to change a few of these things. So it's just a great conversation starter and reminding your kids about how to plan ahead for a great month, to think positively. The fifth resource is the bucket list. Now, this isn't necessarily monthly unless maybe a new season is coming during that month. We usually do ours quarterly, and the bucket list is a free resource on the website, theencouragerpodcast.com. Like, what is your spring bucket list? What are some things, and especially after you're asking the kids all those interview questions, what are some things that you want to see happen in this season? Well, I want to go sledding with so-and-so. Okay, great. Well, I want to dance in the rain with grandma. Awesome. Let's put that on there. I want to make sure you make these foods. That is where the bucket list comes into play, and you can fill that out as a family. I do love the bucket list because it reminds us to stay present in the season and not always just the mundane everydayness. So there you have it. There are your 5 resources. They are available on our website, theencouragerpodcast.com. Have fun using them. Alter them to what works for your family, whether it's a different stage or a different role you're taking on. Remember, guys, remember my podcast about 80/20? You do not have to do 100% of these. You can do it at 80%. You can do it at 50% because I couldn't possibly imagine what your family is going through right now. But I know these have made positive changes for our family. So take out what you can use and what you can implement to set up your month and your family's month for just more joy and more success in accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish as a family, and reminding them that they can have some say-so in what's coming up in the month ahead, and just talking through how to positively impact both their family and their friends and their activities. I just love this monthly folder exercise. I can't wait to have you guys participate both on Facebook and on Instagram to tell us how you're using your monthly folder. I'd love a picture of you and your spouse or you and your kiddos with the paper in between you. It's just a very simple, practical way to get on the same page and to also have more joy in the months ahead and to reflect on the month before as well. Okay, and remember, in the beginning of the podcast, we talk about how to implement this, because this could be great to listen to and you can have all the intentions to get it done. But unless you implement it, you're not going to be able to start anything. So remember, in order to implement it, write the word monthly folder on your calendar or your planner somewhere. Print off these sheets, print off 12 so they're always in the folder, or just one for the next month ahead. So you have some blank sheets of paper waiting for you. You reduce the amount of friction to get started. Then you're going to start to fill out the sheets. And then you're going to celebrate with something. I know you guys can do this. I can't wait to see how this impacts your sweet families and your months ahead. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because He's got us. Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. And then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Are you ready for clarity and purposeful progress without the overwhelm? Join the Clarity Blueprint membership community. Transform your life with like-minded women, taking small, meaningful steps twice a month. Access monthly calls, worksheets, videos, guest speakers, and a supportive community with a very affordable price. Say goodbye to chaos and hello to purposeful progress. Visit theencouragerpodcast.com and join today.
Hello, I'm Adam Comer.
And I'm Ryan Chittister.
And we are the host of Life After Addiction podcast. What we believe is that addiction is not a surprise to God.
That's right. We discuss addiction from a biblical worldview and how true freedom comes through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Absolute freedom from addiction. The secular worldview of once an addict, always an addict is just not true. If you or someone you loved struggles with addiction, subscribe to Life After Addiction at lifeaudio.com.